I didn't like it either. I didn't like it at all. But I'm probably not liking it for a different reason than you are. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning from snowy Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Browns 24, Steelers 19. And if the outcome isn't distasteful enough, if all the various odd decisions and clock management issues and awkward play calling on offense and the defense getting beaten on all four of the Browns' fourth down conversion attempts and allowing Myles Garrett of all unsavory types to have himself an epic night with 3 sacks. If all of that wasn't bad enough, if the loss to a 2-8 opponent wasn't bad enough, what emerged from this game, I believe, that had the greatest single impact on this loss, it looks like a very real problem that's not about to get solved anytime soon, if at all. And if you haven't figured that out by now, I am talking about that offensive line. I'm talking about all 5 of them. I'm talking about them individually. I'm talking about them collectively. I'm even talking about how they're being utilized, how they're being schemed by Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, and by how no one, up to and including Mike Tomlin, seems to acknowledge in any way that something's either got to change there, meaning personnel-wise, or they've got to work around them. They can't just continue wishing that they would be good. They can't just turn around on first down, advertise to everyone in the stadium that they're about to run the ball, and then run the ball. And then it goes for like 1 yard. And they can't, my goodness, how many times have we seen these 2nd and 9 runs? And even that's something that might as well be skywritten by an aircraft because everybody knows that's coming too. And sure enough, it does. And then that gets you a yard. And then it's 3rd and 8. And you're asking a lot of even a really good passing offense to continuously account for 3rd and 8 situations. And this offense, of course, isn't that. But it isn't that in large part because of the same issue. Russell Wilson has been a roving quarterback his entire career. He's not about to change at age 36. He's a quarterback who has taken pride in holding onto the ball and extending plays. And he's not about to change that at age 36. So as I see it, there are 3 ways out of this. And I'm not sure any of the 3 are viable. Option A, have Russ just reinvent himself. Okay, we'll skip that one. Option B, replace Broderick Jones. But with whom? With whom? With Dylan Cook? With Spencer Anderson? Option C, get better. Okay, I mean, that one at least seems plausible, but where's the progress? What I saw here tonight was regress. Yeah, the Browns have Garrett and they have a couple other guys, but that's not some formidable defensive front. They just happen to be better than this offensive line. And you know what? Most teams are. That's the reason that you have seen the Steelers struggle, especially in first halves, to get much of anything going with the running game. Because even if the other teams aren't good, and we talk about it every week, oh, here's a team that just gets gashed on the ground. Indianapolis, Dallas, they're just terrible against the run. And then what ends up happening? They look good against the run when they're facing Pittsburgh because they have better people on their front, even if it's lousy, than what the Steelers have on their offensive front. I spoke after this game with all 5 starters on the O-line. I wanted to hear from them directly their thoughts on what went wrong out there, their thoughts on what needs to happen for them to get where they need to be, their thoughts on if they recognize how much they're hurting this overall process. This was Isaac Seumalo when I asked him, well, just basically that.
I kind of have to go back and look at the film. I think there was that one 4th down we thought was first down. I think another one we were out leveraged. I mean, it just seemed like there's always one thing, one person, myself included in that.
I hear you.
So it's a we thing. It always is. And, the first thing we all got to do is learn, look at ourselves in the mirror, and got to play better. I'm really speaking to myself first and foremost, and then everybody knows that. But these conference games, I know it's only my 2nd year here, but pretty much a dogfight every game. So we didn't make kudos to them. They made a lot of plays. I mean, I've known Jim Schwartz. The defense is always coached well, good players. They just beat us.
Now, I'm going to repeat from the beginning. This isn't what people are going to be talking about today, okay? They're going to be getting into, the specifics of the stuff that happened after the Browns' 3rd down there in the 4th quarter, the decisions that were made by Mike Tomlin, by the referees, because that's, to be honest with you, that's hot button type stuff. That's stuff that gets people a little bit angry, and that gets translated a lot more easily when there's a specific person or a specific situation, especially if it involves controversy. It's the whole go punch a pillow thing. Well, I'm not going to change that, okay? I'm not going to try to change that. But this football team that's now 8-3 and has 6 games left and has still a very, very good standing within both the AFC North and the conference. This team can move past isolated incidents like what happened in the 4th quarter because they're weird, they're unusual. They're related to this game and this circumstance. This O-line isn't. This O-line's been a problem from day one. Yes, they've had some that were better than others. Yes, there are some players who've progressed more than others. But I'll tell you this, there wasn't one guy out of those 5 on that line, meaning Seumalo, Dan Moore, Mason McCormick, Zach Frazier, Broderick Jones, who had a good game. And there wasn't one of them who afterward told me they thought they had a good game. What I got instead was a whole lot of accountability from all 5 of them. Zach Frazier, when I was speaking with him for a while, he must have interrupted himself a handful of times to say, that starts with me. I've got to be better. I've got to be better. Well, the hard truth is they do. All of them. Because if you can't even get a yard, and they had all these 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s and everything else, you can't even get a yard just through a natural push. Where are you going to go if you can't get a yard? When we come back, J1Q. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics, and the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454.
Today's J1Q comes from Peter, who says, DK, I have a question about the running backs. Jaylen Warren is definitely more effective. His yards per carry in this game was double that of Najee Harris. So why does Najee get so many more carries? Well, this is a question that's been asked a lot, Peter, and I'm going to presume that happens all across the scope of Steelers Nation. When Jaylen is moving like he did last night, it has to be, you would think anyway, tempting for the Steelers to just say, man, just that's enough. Just get it to 30. Just let him go with it. They didn't do that. And I'm not crazy about that. They didn't do that even when the Steelers most needed to move the ball near the end of the game. I understand alternating them. I understand keeping them both fresh. And I also understand that when you need a touchdown, you need a touchdown. You don't overthink this stuff. Jaylen Warren carried 11 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris carried 16 times for 4 fewer yards, 41. Warren averaged 4.1 per carry. Harris averaged 2.6 per carry. But you didn't need me to read off those numbers, did you? I mean, you knew what you were watching. You knew just from how one of them was running versus how the other was. Harris was right back into, this is probably unfair, but just to myself, I call this pouty mode for him, meaning he doesn't like the blocking that he sees. He gets up close to it. He does a quick stomp left, stop right, stomp left, stop right, and just gets tackled. He's down. 1 yard, 1.5, whatever it is. Warren is at least trying to make something of it. He doesn't see a hole. He goes flying around to the outside or does a better job of bursting through. And if you want to know how Harris felt about that, I can tell you that he was the first guy out of the locker room as soon as it opened to reporters, and I know that because I'm one of the people he walked right past. And that's fine. He can do that. Warren stood at his locker stall and answered questions for an extended period. And I'm sure at the same time that they were both disappointed at what happened in front of them. But for me, I'm going to keep coming back to this. And don't be surprised to hear this a lot over the next few days. There's nowhere to go for this football team with this offensive line being this much of a weakness. Russell Wilson was sacked 4 times for 22 yards. Did he hold on to the ball too long? Sure, a couple times he did. He could have been sacked even more, except that he threw a bunch away, which is saying something considering he was 21 of 28, and out of those 7 incompletions, I'm pretty sure either 4 or 5 were just him getting rid of the ball because he had no other choice. That's not okay. So you're either going to have to figure out, listen, are these the right players? What actual options exist if we want to replace them? I don't believe that's going to happen, by the way, including with Broderick Jones. Or do we finally start acting as if they're a weakness until they're not? Do we start saying, listen, Russ, we know you like to do things a certain way, and we know that we want to pound the ball and all this other stuff here, but these extended plays aren't happening. They're not working. They didn't against Baltimore. They didn't against Cleveland. They're not going to, especially now, once everybody's seen these couple of games on film. So what we're going to do is we're going to start doing quick drops, quick releases, get the ball to the tight end. Funny how that works when you actually try it, huh? Did you notice that last night? Get the ball to George Pickens in lots of different situations. Not, of course, when he's being tripped, sprinting down the sideline and doesn't get a DPI on the other guy, but I digress. Get it to Calvin Austin, who had a couple of really good catches, not just the touchdown. But act as if your offensive line is a problem. Don't ignore it. If you listen to one or all of my daily shots on all three of the teams in Pittsburgh that I cover, you'll hear me say a lot that you can't coach the team that you wish you had. You have to coach the team you actually have. The Steelers have a lousy offensive line. At least that's the way they're performing. Begin with that premise, and there will be real progress for this offense. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers, not just today, all week long, all season long. I'll be back with another one of these on Monday.